This is Walter Leite, and in this presentation I will talk about Dillman's guidelines for constructing open-ended questions. Open-ended questions can be classified into three main types, each designed to elicit different kinds of responses. Numerical response questions ask respondents to provide a specific number of measurements, such as years of experience, age, or salary. These types of questions are useful when you need to collect precise quantitative data, but they allow the respondents to offer their answers freely. They are well suited for self-administered surveys such as internet surveys and mail surveys. List of item questions ask respondents to provide one or several items relevant to a topic, such as their employment, job title, or qualifications. These questions are helpful when you want to understand the breadth of an individual's experience. They are also suitable for self-administered surveys, but they may be vulnerable to response styles because some individuals will provide longer lists than others, and some will suffice with shorter lists. Descriptive questions encourage responses to provide in-depth qualitative information about the topic. These are ideal for exploring complex issues, but they are not appropriate for self-administered surveys. They can only be used in interview-administered surveys because they will be used for qualitative data analysis or natural language processing. One of the most important principles when crafting open-ended questions is to specify the type of response you want the question to stem. A vague question can lead to unclear or incomplete answers. For example, asking how often do you go to the gym, it's too general because it does not specify whether you are asking for frequency per week, month, or year. An improved version would be, in an average week, how many days do you go to the gym? This clarification provides the respondent with a clear understanding of what is expected, improving the quality of the response. Be sure to include unit labels, such as days, hours, to ensure that the answer space occupied is filled with the appropriate type of response. Also, make a box that is of the appropriate size for the response, which helps prevent any confusion. You wouldn't want to put a label like days per week with a very large box that would pass the impression that you would have to write more than a number. When designing open-ended questions that require a number as a response, it's crucial to avoid asking respondents to perform complex or unnecessary calculations. This can lead to inaccurate or incomplete answers. For example, asking what percentage of work week is dedicated to teaching requires the respondents to first calculate the percentage, which can be tedious and error-prone. A better approach would be, in a typical year, how many hours per week do you teach? This change removes the need for any calculations, making the question easier and more likely to be responded and produce accurate data. Motivation is key to encouraging respondents to answer open-ended questions thoroughly and thoughtfully. If they are not motivated, you may get very short answers when you want a more detailed answer. Adding motivational statements to describe questions can increase the quality and depth of response. For example, a question like, please describe your strategies to engage your students in reading practice, can be made more motivating by adding a statement. Your responses will inform the development of reading app that will facilitate student practice of reading and improve reading fluency. However, keep in mind that this type of question should not be used or should be avoided with self-reported surveys such as internet surveys, because response styles will play a major role, and there is nobody there, no interviewer to probe respondents. To get richer, more detailed responses from open-ended questions, it's beneficial to use non-directive probes, which interviewer can do in interview-administered surveys. These probes are follow-up prompts that encourage respondents to elaborate or clarify their statements without leading them in any specific direction. Non-directive probes are particularly effective when the moderator can ask for additional information in real time. For example, if a respondent answers a question like, what are the most important challenges in improving students' oral reading fluency, the interviewer might ask a follow-up probe such as, are there any other challenges related to oral reading fluency that the students struggle with? This probe invites the respondents to share additional insights that may not have been covered in the initial response. Non-directive probes can also be used in internet surveys through the display of conditions, so basically if statements that if they provide a certain response, you provide a probe. However, those if statements, the originate question should be close at the end of the question, because it's hard to do a if statement with open-ended questions.